For decades, America wore the crown of North American trade power. From Wall Street to Washington, everything seemed untouchable. But today, that crown is slipping, and it's slipping fast. The United States now carries a $37 trillion debt, and instead of strengthening its economy, Washington is stumbling under the weight of its own mistakes. At the very same time, Canada, long seen as the quiet neighbor, is stepping up. With new alliances, financial muscle, and energy leverage, Ottawa is reshaping the future of North America. Stay with me, because what we're seeing is not just another trade dispute. This is the kind of shift that happens once in a generation. And it could completely change how power is divided on this continent. But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss the breakdowns that cut through the noise and explain what's really happening. The weight of $37 trillion. Let's start with America's biggest weakness right now, its debt. $37 trillion. That's not just a number, it's a mountain that is crushing Washington's ability to lead. Think about it this way, every second, America adds tens of thousands of dollars in new debt. Interest payments alone are eating up more money than entire federal departments. The US government is now spending more on servicing debt than it does on national defense. For a superpower, that's a dangerous imbalance. What does this mean in practice? It means Washington can no longer write blank checks to solve its problems. During the 2008 financial crisis, the government bailed out banks and corporations because it had room to borrow. During the pandemic, trillions were poured into stimulus packages. But now, those days are gone. Every new spending bill deepens the hole, every new crisis pushes the debt higher, and confidence in the US dollar weakens a little more. Investors around the world are noticing. Credit agencies are whispering about downgrades. Foreign governments are quietly reducing their exposure to US bonds. Even American citizens are starting to lose faith in their own financial system. The foundation of US economic dominance is cracking, and Canada is stepping in to build something steadier. Tariffs and inflation, the vice grip. Debt is the big picture problem, but for ordinary people, the crisis shows up in their grocery bills, their rent, and their paychecks. Tariffs, meant to protect American industries, have instead acted like a tax on families. When Washington raises tariffs on imports, countries retaliate. Suddenly, everything from wine to auto parts costs more. At the same time, inflation has been running hot. Prices for food, fuel, and housing are climbing faster than wages. Families are squeezed between two walls, they're earning less in real terms while paying more for basic necessities. Small businesses feel the same pain, higher costs for raw materials, higher wages to keep workers, and shrinking profit margins. This is the vice grip that's crushing America's middle class. Tariffs and inflation together are squeezing from both sides. And while US households struggle, Canada is positioning itself as a calmer alternative. By avoiding reckless tariff wars, Ottawa is keeping inflation more under control and offering investors a more predictable environment. The contrast couldn't be clearer, where America looks unstable, Canada looks steady. Carney's defiance. Every big shift needs a leader, and for Canada, that leader is Mark Carney. The former governor of the Bank of Canada, and later the Bank of England, Carney is no stranger to navigating financial storms. Now he's back on the Canadian stage, helping Ottawa chart a new economic future. Carney's defiance of Washington has become legendary. When the US imposed tariffs and demanded concessions, Carney didn't flinch. Instead, he made it clear that Canada would not be bullied into deals that hurt its interests. He called out America's reckless spending and its short-term thinking. He reminded Ottawa that strength comes from stability, not bravado. And here's the key, Carney isn't just talking. He's acting. Under his guidance, Canada has pushed for diversification, building trade ties with Europe, strengthening links with Asia, and doubling down on cooperation with Mexico. He knows that relying too much on Washington is a recipe for disaster, and he's helping Canada stand on its own feet. Canada, Mexico's economic corridor. One of the most powerful moves in this new strategy is the creation of a Canada-Mexico economic corridor. For decades, the United States sat at the center of North American trade. Goods flowed into American ports, across American highways, and out through American companies. But that model is breaking. Now, Canada and Mexico are working directly with each other, cutting Washington out of the middle. This corridor means Canadian factories are linked to Mexican suppliers, Mexican ports are shipping goods straight to Canadian markets, and the US is no longer the automatic hub. Think about how significant that is. For years, Detroit was the beating heart of auto manufacturing. Today, new plants are opening in Ontario instead. Supply chains that once ran through Texas are being redirected to Mexico's Pacific coast. Canadian and Mexican leaders are investing in new railways, highways, and energy links that make this corridor not just possible but permanent. The Maple 8 funds. But none of this would be possible without money. That's where Canada's Maple 8 funds come in. These are the country's largest pension and investment funds, and together they control trillions of dollars in capital. Unlike many American investors who chase short-term profits, the Maple 8 play the long game. They invest in infrastructure, energy, and industries that will shape Canada's economy for decades. Highways, renewable energy projects, manufacturing hubs, you name it, they're funding it. This matters because capital is power. When Canadian companies can count on stable investment, they can expand, innovate, and compete globally. Meanwhile, US firms are struggling with higher interest rates, unpredictable policies, and a shrinking pool of investors. Wall Street is still huge, but it's chaotic. The Maple 8 are quieter, steadier, and focused. Energy is the silent weapon. If money is one form of power, energy is another, and here Canada holds the upper hand. The US may produce a lot of oil and gas, but it still relies heavily on Canadian energy. Crude oil from Alberta, natural gas from Saskatchewan, and hydroelectric power from Quebec flow south every single day. This dependency gives Ottawa enormous leverage. Every time Washington escalates a tariff war or threatens sanctions, Canada has a quiet reminder: cutting off energy would cripple entire US regions. Refineries in the Midwest would grind to a halt. Cities in the Northeast would face blackouts. Industries would suffer overnight. Canada doesn't need to shout about this weapon. It uses it silently, carefully, but effectively. Energy is Ottawa's insurance policy, its guarantee that the US can never completely sideline it. At the same time, Canada is investing in renewable energy, making sure it stays ahead of global trends. This combination of dominance in the present and preparation for the future makes Canada's position almost unshakable. The corporate exodus. Corporations are not sentimental. They go where the money is, where the rules are stable, and where the future looks promising. And right now, more and more of them are choosing Canada. Auto companies are building factories in Ontario instead of Michigan. Tech firms are opening research hubs in Toronto instead of Silicon Valley. Even agricultural giants are shifting operations north to take advantage of cheaper energy and better access to global markets. This exodus isn't just a headline, it's billions of dollars in lost revenue for US states. It means fewer jobs, smaller tax bases, and weaker local economies. For Canada, it's the opposite. Each new corporate investment means more employment, stronger communities, and a bigger role in global supply chains. North America rewired. When you put all of this together, the US debt crisis, tariffs, inflation, Carney's leadership, the Canada-Mexico corridor, the Maple 8 funds, energy leverage, and the corporate exodus, you see the bigger picture. North America is being rewired. For over a century, Washington sat at the center. Canada and Mexico were junior partners, orbiting around US power. But today, that structure is collapsing. Canada is stepping into the lead, Mexico is building direct ties, and Washington is being left behind. This isn't just about trade. It's about identity. For the first time, Canada isn't defined by its proximity to the US. It's defining itself as an independent power, capable of leading, capable of setting the agenda. And as America stumbles under its $37 trillion debt, that shift is becoming permanent. The fall of America's trade crown isn't happening with explosions or wars. It's happening quietly, through debt, policy mistakes, and corporate decisions. And Canada, long underestimated, is seizing the moment. For ordinary people, this story matters because it shapes the prices you pay, the jobs available in your city, and the stability of your future. When power shifts at the top, it ripples all the way down. So, here's the question: is this just a temporary stumble for Washington, or is Canada truly taking the crown for good? That's the debate unfolding right now. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and before you leave, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss the updates that break down these historic changes as they happen.